Mr. President, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Laura.
Today, Mike Pompeo gave a very forceful press conference on the fallout from the Iranian jetliner going down. His concern is that people aren't understanding the imminent nature of the threat of Soleimani. And he was pressed on that today. He said there were large-scale attacks planned on U.S. facilities, but he didn't go more specific. Don't the American people have a right to know what specifically was targeted without revealing methods and sources?
Well, I don't think so, but we will tell you that probably it was going to be the embassy in Baghdad. You saw that happening. You saw it with all of the men, very few women, circling it very strongly and very viciously, knocking out windows and trying to get in, and they were close to getting in. And I called out the military. They said, we'll have it there tomorrow. I said, nope, you'll have it there today. We're not going to have another Benghazi on our hands. And we did a really amazing job. I get no credit for it, but we never get credit for anything, and that's okay. In the meantime, we have the greatest economy we've ever had, a lot of other things. But I think you would have had another Benghazi had we not acted quickly. That could have been stopped, and this was stopped. And we had our Apaches going there, the great helicopters, and they were dropping flares all over the place, and a lot of things were happening. They had action real fast, and everybody disappeared.
Did they have large-scale attacks planned for other embassies? And if those were planned, why can't we reveal that to the American people? Wouldn't that help your case?
I can reveal that I believe it would have been 4 embassies. And I think that probably Baghdad already started. They were really amazed that we came in with that kind of a force. We came in with very powerful force and drove them out. You know, that ended almost immediately. But Baghdad certainly would have been the lead. But I think it would have been 4 embassies. Could have been military bases. Could have been a lot of other things, too. But it was imminent. And then all of a sudden, he was gone.
Why is Nancy Pelosi describing her briefing as dismissive and disdainful? Mike Lee said it was insulting, the intel briefing. What wasn't said to mollify the concerns of some of your strongest supporters, like Mike Lee?
Yeah, he is a great supporter. He's a friend of mine. He called me just a little while ago, and he said, you know, I just wanted to get some more information. And he was, look, I've also had calls from some of the senators, some of the congressmen, said it was the single best briefing. One person said they've been there for 10 years. It's the single best briefing they've ever had. One said 20 years, the single best military briefing they've ever had. I understand what Mike had. Mike wanted certain things said, and we just couldn't say them. We could probably say maybe individually to him, and he's certainly a trustworthy person.
Are you worried that the Democrats can't be trusted with classified information? Because that's kind of what it sounded like when Pence gave that interview and talked about sources and methods the other day.
I am worried about it. Certainly, I am worried about it. Can you imagine? Here we are, split-second timing, executed like nobody's seen in many, many years on Soleimani. Can you imagine they want us to call up and speak to crooked, corrupt politician Adam Schiff? Oh, Adam, we have somebody that we've been trying to get for a long time. We have a shot at him right now. Could we meet so that we can get your approval, Adam Schiff? And he'd say, well, let's do it in a couple of days. Oh, okay, let's meet in a couple. It doesn't work that way. Number one. Number two, they leak. Anything we give will be leaked immediately. You'll see breaking news. We're about to attack in 25 minutes or do something. And by the way, I'm not somebody that wants to attack. I probably could have attacked 5 times, 10 times, having to do with Iran. I've been very guarded because I don't want to do that. But we may have to do something. We have to be in a position where we can do it, even from the negotiating standpoint. But hopefully it won't be necessary. We have tremendous sanctions. They're doing very poorly. They have riots all over their country. And they could straighten it out easy, but it's up to them.
Speaking of the sanctions, Ilhan Omar, I think, said today that this is akin to economic warfare against Iran, even though she supports sanctions against Israel.
Yeah. She hates Israel. She hates Jewish people. You just have to take a look at her rhetoric. It's incredible what's happened to the Democrats in Congress. They used to be supportive of Israel. Today they're supportive of her and Tlaib. That's another real winner. Tlaib and AOC. who knows nothing. AOC knows nothing. Poor student, poor everything. And then she comes and she talks about the Green New Deal, and all these poor fools say, oh, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? But, you know, as I said last night in Ohio, I don't like talking about the Green New Deal. It's too early. I want to save it for about 2 weeks before, because they may change their mind.
Bernie Sanders was out, you're not surprised to hear this, discussing Iran, what happened, and he basically said this.
Just as we were led into Vietnam and Iraq by lies, the Trump administration is misleading us on Iran. They have justified the assassination of Qasem Soleimani by claiming that he was planning imminent attacks, and yet they produce no evidence that would justify this claim, not even in a classified setting.
I don't see it happening. We are there for a very, very strong reason. They cannot have nuclear weapons. The Iran nuclear deal signed by President Obama gave them $150 billion, and that's when the real terror started. They took that money and they used it all over the place. You look at Yemen, you look at all of the things that were happening, including Syria. They were using, Pelista gave $1.8 billion in cash, 1.8 billion in cash, green cash, beautiful green cash. You almost say, how do they have the power to do this? Plane loads of cash. And instead of Iran saying, thank you very much, that's really nice, let's go and get along, let's do well, let's do deals together, let's build buildings in Iran, they said death to America. And they said it when they were signing. When Kerry signed, and by the way, Kerry violated the Logan Act.
He's out there just
he totally violated. This man totally violated the Logan Act with his conversations, okay? But when Kerry was out there and making the deal, and they have people screaming, death to America, death to America. I say, who signs a deal while they're screaming death to America?
Well, they're saying you destabilized the Middle East after campaigning as a man of restraint, non-interventionism. Elizabeth Warren is saying this, Kerry's saying this, all the old Obama folks are out there, Susan Rice. They're all kind of waiting in the wings. They're like, see, he's the guy that we told you he was.
If you look at the Middle East right now, it's much tamer than it was when I got in. When I got in, it was just all over the place. Number one, we got rid of the caliphate, the ISIS caliphate. We have tens of thousands of ISIS prisoners. We've killed most of their fighters. We've gotten rid of ISIS. Now they come back and we take care of it. Other people should take care of it. Other countries should take care of it. Europe should take them back.
Is NATO going to actually step up? I know they committed to doing more in the Middle East, but what specifically is NATO going to contribute that's going to take some of the burden off the American taxpayers?
So when I came in, as you know, NATO was virtually a dead organization. It had no money. Nobody was paying except us. Practically nobody was paying. If you look at a chart of money and funds received, it looked like a roller coaster down. Now, and Secretary Stoltenberg, I think he's terrific. In my first year, I raised $130 billion from them, not from us. And now he just announced $530 billion, all because of me. He's my biggest salesman, my greatest salesman, Secretary Stoltenberg. But I said to him, look, you're there for Russia and Europe, okay? By the way, NATO's much more for Europe than it is for us, and yet we pay
What are we protecting them from now? All the money we're spending in NATO. Who are we protecting them from?
Well, they build an office building for $3 billion. They do lots of things that they shouldn't be doing before I got here. But I raised a lot of money. We can use NATO in other locations. We can use NATO, as an example, in the Middle East. And that's what we should do. And I think, frankly, it's more palatable to countries in the Middle East if an international force comes in rather than just the United States. And from our standpoint, let somebody else pay for it. Why are we always paying? We pay for everything. One thing, I moved our troops out of Syria, on the border between Turkey and Syria. That turned out to be such a successful move, Laura. Look what happened. Now they protect their own. They've been fighting over that border for 1,000 years. Why should we do it? And then they say he left troops in Syria. You know what I did? I left troops to take the oil. I took the oil. The only troops I have are taking the oil. They're protecting the oil. I took over
We're taking the oil. We're not taking the oil.
Well, maybe we will. Maybe we won't.
You're protecting the facility.
I don't know. Maybe we should take it. But we have the oil. Right now, the United States has the oil. So they say he left troops in Syria. No. I got rid of all of them other than we're protecting the oil. We have the oil.
The Wall Street Journal is reporting today that after this strike, Mr. Trump told associates he was under pressure to deal with General Soleimani, take him out, from GOP senators he views as important supporters in the coming impeachment trial in the Senate. associates
Yeah.
said. Sounds like you got a leaker here in the White
No,
House
it's not
or
a leak.
someone.
It's
What
fake
is it?
news.
It's just fake?
They just made it up. It's fake news.
Okay.
I
Wall
used
Street
to think
Journal?
leakers, they just make it up. They're all very dishonest. Most of them are really dishonest. I mean, 80% are dishonest, and I mean really dishonest. They made that story up.
So no concern about
you notice the way
Lindsey
they
Graham?
Well,
or-
they don't use, no, not at all. By the way, absolutely not at all. We have tremendous support. Look, in the House, we were 196 to nothing, and we got 3 Democrats. So therefore, it was bipartisan, I guess you could say. We got nothing. They had nothing. We didn't lose 1 Republican vote. As you know, that's very unusual. In the Senate, I think I have the same, if not more, support. I don't have to do that. I would never compromise what we're doing with Iran and potential war and all of the things that where we're doing so
we're not
well.
doing Bush 2.0 here. This is not Bush
No.
2.0.
You know what I
This
want?
is not WMD.
You know what I want in the Middle East? I don't want people having nuclear weapons because they'll use them. I don't want people having nuclear weapons. That's my biggest thing.
Well,
My
John
biggest
Kerry
thing.
was out there yesterday saying, well, you guys got out of the Iran deal, and that's what's
By the
caused
way, you know how
all
bad
this
the Iran
tension.
deal was? The Iran deal, I did a great thing getting out of the Iran deal. They gave them $150 billion. They gave them the $1.8 billion. Forget that. You couldn't do inspections of the most important locations. And you know another big thing? They have the right to do ballistic missiles. We couldn't go into areas and look. We'd have to give massive notices. So if they were doing something, they could clean them up. It was ridiculous. But most importantly, it expires. This is a short-term agreement. And now, once it expired, they have an absolute clear, unstopped path to have nuclear weapons. Unstopped. In a very short period of time, the deal that President Obama made with John Kerry, who may be the worst negotiator I've ever seen, that deal expires. And you know what? Once it expires, you can't do what I did. I mean, because they have a deal that says once it expires, they can do what they want to do. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's what I'm doing.
Pete Buttigieg and other Democrats, I predicted this when I talked to Mike Pompeo yesterday, are actually blaming your moves against Iran for the downing of that commercial jetliner in Iran, in Tehran, the night of the strikes by Iran to our Iraqi facilities. Your reaction to that charge?
Well, a couple of people started that, and they got hit real fast by a lot of different people, not me. I think it's just low life. Look, he's not going anywhere. He was a lousy mayor of a place that is not doing well, and Indiana's doing unbelievably well. Indiana, the state, had the best year they've ever had. Thank you very much. But that city was badly run. You look at what's going on.
Jackie Spires saying
he's going nowhere,
too.
and she's another beauty. I mean, take a look at her past. Check out her past, please.
The Iraqi prime minister has notified Mike Pompeo about potential plans, drawing up plans for a U.S. troop withdrawal from Iraq, period. You ran on pulling out of the Middle East.
I don't
Why
mind
not
that.
use this opportunity to say,
okay
we're done?
I'm okay with it. By the way,
You're
that's what
okay
they
with
say.
removing
Listen,
our troops
just so
from
you
Iraq?
understand, that's what they say publicly. They don't say that privately. Because if we leave, that means they're not going to be able to handle
Why not
it.
leave?
I'm not so bad with it. You know, when I heard that, I said, you know, I have it down to 5,000 troops. We had many, many troops there in Iraq. And we're there only in a training. We train them. But if they'd want us to leave, but they speak different publicly than they do privately.
But aren't we sending more troops to the region as we speak?
We're sending more to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is paying us for it. You know, we're doing something that nobody's ever done. I said to Saudi Arabia, we have a very good relationship with Saudi Arabia. I said, listen, you're a very rich country. You want more troops? I'm going to send them to you, but you've got to pay us. They're paying us. They've already deposited $1 billion in the bank. We are going to help them. But these rich countries have to pay for it. South Korea gave us $500 million. They never gave us any. They gave us $500 million. I said, you got to help us along. We have 32,000 soldiers in South Korea protecting you from North Korea. You've got to pay. And they gave us $500 million. I mean, you sort of have breaking news because nobody wants to report that stuff. I'm not sure anybody knows it. I might be sort of saying it. You have some. I mean, it's good stuff. But they're a wealthy country. They build all your television sets. They took that away from us. They build the ships. They build a lot of things. I said, look, we're protecting you. You got to pay. They paid us $500 million. They're going to pay us a lot more.
Do you think that Iraq should repay the American taxpayer for these bases,
Sure.
for
Well,
what we've done there.
You heard that from me.
Yeah,
okay?
I know. But will we?
I said we built one of the world's most expensive airport facilities anywhere in the world. I mean, I wish we had it in New York. I wish we had it in Washington. We built runways that are 15,000 feet long. At LaGuardia, they're 7,000 feet long. In fact, I think they're 20,000 feet long over there, and deep, thick concrete and steel. Nobody ever built runways like this. Okay, it was way overbuilt, but that's okay. But we have billions of dollars into that. I said, if we leave, you got to pay us. If we leave, you have to pay us for embassies. You have to pay us for the money we put in.
How are you going to collect?
Well, we have a lot of their money right now. We have a lot of their money. We have $35 billion of their money right now sitting in an account. And I think they'll agree to pay. I think they'll agree to pay. Otherwise, we'll stay there.